So we live, we back at it again. Got a little noise in the background, but we're gonna keep going through that. Doing some paperwork too. Y'all gonna hear a little sloughing of paper. But getting into this right here. Basically quite simple. Me and my friend was going over discussion about buying houses and things of that nature, and talking about 401ks and stuff like that. And I was telling him about whole life insurance, about buying a property with your whole life insurance. And, it's an asset added to, the biz, of you keeping the family structure. Say the least, when you have that life insurance sit there and available, you know, if you have that um situation to where you can have your kids not be interrupted through any situation that comes along in life, that's a good thing. Um, I keep pushing this, once again, this Black History Month, and I keep trying to get people more informed. It's not even me, I can tell you certain things, but mainly it's up to you to go and do the research. Go do the research, figure out what you need to do to actually get a house. Um, you know, go do the research. Like I said, you can get a house with no money down. That's why I keep telling people. It's not like I'm telling you this. Research it for yourself. You can literally buy a house with no money down, pay the closing costs. You might pay 3,000 out of pocket or less, and you can get a home. They have other programs that you get. I mean, NACA has their programs, but they have different programs with different banks. They're encouraging people to buy homes. And from what I've been hearing, the actual interest rate is going down because something else is coming down the pipeline. And a lot of people are not looking into that. You know, that's the thing. Shout out to everybody coming in, trying to keep on topic. I just keep going. But you know, looking for a house is the best thing, for your family. And it's affordable only if you make it affordable for yourself. At the rate right it is right now, renting is decent. We can afford renting, you can get it done. But just in a situation where you bought a house, it will help you so much more because you're locked in on a rate. And that's what I'm trying to encourage people more to locked in on the rate. I told you when I was renting an apartment, it was 950 back in 2012, 13 ish, and 20 years later, that same apartment that I was renting is $1,800 for a three bedroom. And the only reason I keep trying to encourage people to home ownership, that's the way to pass that generational wealth. Let's say if I can't pass $1 million life insurance plan over time, most houses grow at a rate of 15%. Actually over the years. You buy your house. Let's say you buy a house for 200,000. Kids graduate from school. That house is now worth 300,000. You know, or let alone let if it's in an up and coming growing area, that house might be worth $500,000. One of my friends literally bought a house in the neighborhood, new construction, 200,000. They're building another subdivision across the street, 400,000. And his house is a little bigger. He has a little more amenities, finished basement. He has 3-story, well, 2-story with a basement, and he has 3 units on each floor. Like he took no shorts when it came to some of the upgrades. Even after he bought the house, he still went and upgraded through another company because it was cheaper. And when it came down to it, I mean, he did these upgrades for what? For the value of the house. Same thing with me. And it's killing me, say the least. I did the hardwood floors in my dining room, my living room, and the hallway myself. I'm actually doing the process of doing the steps. And once I get those done, then I'm moving on to do the kitchen. I'm gonna redo the kitchen. Then I'm gonna come back and do the bathroom. And my kids like to put their hands on the wall. So instead of hitting it with a gloss paint and everything so I can just easy to wipe down. I'm just gonna tile that whole back wall over there, and that whole back wall tile is gonna look somewhere because basically I'm designing it more or less to look like almost like a hotel setting. So the trimming, I'm not gonna have those quarter round trimmings. I'm gonna have a big flat baseboard down the bottom like the hotels do, the big baseboard. So I'm gonna have that, and I'm just making sure like I can get more value for this house because I'm in the process of looking for somewhere else so I can rent this house out. You know, and the thing is, that's the thing. We financially buying houses and renting them is going to be a big thing. Um, Believe it or not, who was it they had up here? I think it was Chase Bank. I was looking at a video on Chase Bank. Chase Bank actually is buying $1 billion in houses, and now they're trying to put an order in through Congress that companies cannot buy over so much assets because it's going to become a point where home ownership is not going to be available to everyone because if these companies, these crowdfundings, all these different groups are coming in, you have different organizations coming from overseas, companies and stuff of that nature, buying by the boatload. If you look at Erica Williams' channel, the Classy Client, Erica Williams, the Classy Client, she talks about how um, China and the likes of India is buying Chicago. I mean, not Chicago, but Michigan up. That whole downtown is just about bought out by international investors, and locally nobody's buying. You know, we talk about how we get gentrified in our neighborhoods, but we get gentrified because when it comes down to it, no one's saving grandma's home, no one's saving auntie's home, no one's trying to talk to the parents who don't have kids for them to put it in structure of a trust to where they can transfer the deed over and the the taxes are paid through that trust and you can actually stay at that house. You know, all you gotta do is just make sure you register light, water, gas. That house is up under trust. It's locked in. You know, we're not doing this stuff to solidify our future. So of course, who do you think is gonna come in and take over our future? You know, and that's the thing with Black History Month. That's what I'm trying to more or less keep on us getting stuff together and pretty much solidifying our future. Another big thing that we got to start looking at that I put in the title is life insurance, you know, and that's why I keep saying for most of the guys that I talk about that are protectors and providers that provide for the family, you should have life insurance. It's a given. If I was to die and I'm the sole breadwinner of my house, and we hear about this in so many different spaces that men are the protectors and the providers, and they this and that. Well, who's gonna protect and provide your family when you're not there? Even my wife has life insurance. I have more policies than her. It is not like a point against her because I know if something happens to me, she's gonna need a lot more help. It costs money for plumbers to come. It costs money for, you know, things to get fixed around the house, maintenance. It costs money to get a car and to raise kids. So saying the least, I need to have somewhat a little bit more money to protect her and, provide for her. That's why I always talk about Alonzo Hall, doing the life insurance because a lot of us we don't take it serious until it actually happens. I had several family members pass and it was unexpected. But to the point of them having that life insurance, you know, it helped the family situation with the burials. It helped with different other situations that need to be addressed. I mean, how many times we get into a situation where, you know, a family member dies and everybody's thinking like, what are we gonna do? Because we know that that person didn't have life insurance, and let's say even the father, you know, if they didn't have life insurance. Now the kids got to go pull up the money to bury their dad, and if they just didn't got it, they just don't have it. You know, then that means somebody has to take out a loan. Somebody has to do something to borrow that money to take care of dad. And honestly, that's not a problem to take care of dad if dad passed. But dad should have been a little more responsible. You know, same thing with mom in any situation. If something happens to mom, we have situations to where, like I say with my wife, is my wife passed, it will be a burden to me, um, more or less mental, but I'm pretty much strong and I look at things for what they are. I know that we're not going to live forever, but in case that something do like that happens, we have to prepare ourselves for that. And that's more or less along the lines of where I look at things regarding my family, friends and all. I know we're not going to live forever. Like I said, my great grandmother told me one of the things that kind of benefit me from actually getting so much caught up with people passing was due to, remember the good in people. Situations happen, we got to remember the good. I didn't even go to my great grandma's funeral, and to this day, I still regret it because I was so hurt that this woman, she did so much for the family, did so much for me, and I just didn't want to see her in that casket like that. Even down to my uncle, when I got ready to bury him, I was strong enough by dealing with that situation with her that it wasn't a thing for me to go to her funeral, and go to his funeral and look at him like the way he was. I didn't even go look at the body, but more or less, just in that situation, you know, dealing with what I had to do with my great grandmother. But the situation, it takes a turn for the worse, and that's why I keep pushing life insurance. That's why I keep pushing buying a home. Saving up um about $10,000. You won't even need the whole 10. Just having that 10 available because you will most likely, if the game is this, if I was to go buy a home and I'm a first time home buyer, I get that rate, first time home buyer discount. I go and look for programs in my city and say, okay, I'm in Georgia. Georgia has a dream program. Georgia has a dream program to where if you buy your home and stay in it for 5 years, you don't have to pay the down payment back. HUD homes have a situation to where you pay the down payment and the closing costs. It lets you get a low rate on your insurance. I mean on your interest. And also HUD home have it to where if you buying a house that's kind of beat up and needs some assistance, they will give you a construction loan to let you buy the house, fix the house up, and once the house get fixed up, then they give you a different appraise for the house, and also that money will be added towards the value of your house. So that's another way of doing it. A lot of times people don't have a lot of money. This is one of the cheapest ways to get a home. Start, people call starter home or whatever. You can actually go to, and it's in most areas, Habitat. You can go to Habitat. I know in there, I know it's pretty much in Georgia, but I know it's in a lot of areas they have Habitat as well. Habitat is the program to where you can go in, get a house just off being at your job for a minimum of 2 years. They probably changed the criteria now, but mainly about 2 years. You've been on your job. You have at least a 620. A 620. They probably went up on that on the credit score, but at least a 620. You can go and do a program through Habitat, get you a house with no money down, no closing costs, because they're building the house for you. A lot of people don't take advantage of that. Building the house for you. And according to how many kids you have, I think the most they give up to is a 4 bedroom. The most they have is a 4 bedroom, but they do have 5 bedroom houses now. That's the thing. They do have 5 bedroom houses you can take advantage of. And some of those houses are houses that they bought and fixed the houses up and putting it back out for habitat. They also have houses that they build from the ground up. And because the thing with habitat, a lot of people don't realize they're building communities. So they want you to stand there for a minimum of 10 years before you sell because they're building communities. They want people to, make this be an area where they want to stay in. Make this be an area, where they're from and they want to continue living in that area and so forth, raising their kids. Over time, people change and want to move. That's one of the easiest ways of getting into a house. No money down, no closing costs. Nothing. I'm like, this, like I said, don't take my word for this. Look this up for yourself. A lot of people want home ownership, and sometimes they think that it's unattainable. A lot of these things are obtainable as long as you're doing the work. You're going out here seeking, what can I do? What are my options? The rate of rent is steady going up. It's steady going up. As it stand right now, to a degree, we're going to be sitting in a point to where if we don't start taking advantage of buying a house now, we won't be able to afford one later on in life. You know, even getting to kids, there are a lot of kids moving back in with their parents, say the least. There are a lot of kids moving back in with their parents. So, how would this issue be for kids that are moving back in with their parents to, try to pick a situation to where they're able to live with their parents and the parents, don't have nowhere to live. Because it's getting to a point where even as a parent, it's times I've been through this. I've struggled and, paid bills and lived check to check and pretty much for the most part I'm still living it like that. But, it's a budget of things, I like I said, I literally probably got like a month, maybe month to 2 months to where I can go without working, no problem. You know, they say you need about 6 months to where if anything do happen, you're good. But I got like I said, a couple of months to where if anything, and that's another thing. People not taking advantage of that foreclosed homes. I'm learning the situation with tax liens as well to where you can buy if a property is paid off. Let's say somebody had an old house they don't want and they're not paying the taxes on it. That's how a lot of people's grandmothers' houses and aunties and uncles and whomever family members houses get taken during the tax sale. They don't sit here and take advantage of paying the taxes on a house that's already paid off. You know, all you're doing is paying taxes on a house that's already paid off. Until you sell that house, pay the taxes on it. Because someone goes and pays their taxes, and I think it's up to a year or so, they can actually get that house. A lot of times with foreclosed homes, there's nothing wrong with these foreclosed homes. A lot of people just not taking advantage of getting a foreclosed home and everything because of the benefit of not knowing. That's why I keep going into when you really don't know, that's what hurts you the most. Like I said, buying these properties, to a degree, first time is easy, but you have to learn. Yeah, and see, a lot of people, it's situations where you don't know, you know, and a lot of times we can blame the previous generations, but sometimes it's always on us too. I had a cousin. He was sitting here talking about how his dad bought houses and did all this development in the community. And he's like, my dad never taught me none of this. My dad never taught me this. My dad never taught me that. And the first thing I asked him, I was like, did you ask him? And he was like, no. I was like, because as a parent, I struggle with this with my kids. If I don't think you're ready, I'm not going to actually, give you the information. I'm not going to actually give you the information if you're not ready. You know, if I see a child that's playing in school, not focusing on things that they need to do, and all of a sudden you come up to me and you ask me about, you know, buying homes. Exactly. And I was looking at that situation with the FHA about buying 4 units. I'm in the process of looking at that now because you can actually use your FHA to buy 4 units, up to 4 units. Really, it's actually 4 buildings. So you can technically buy with an FHA all on one property. There's four buildings, and uh I think, what's the structure of it? No, 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 my bad. It is 4 units because it was two and two. Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry, stand correct. It is up to 4 units. But yeah, when it comes down to it, a lot of us just don't notice. So that's what we drop the ball and not knowing. We're not researching. Nobody's telling us, and the people that are telling us, we're just not paying attention. So how's that benefiting us when we don't take the time to research and do this? You know, look for the information. Like I said, Habitat Homes. You can buy a Habitat home. I mean, you can actually get a Habitat home. No money down, no closing costs, no out of pocket. They build a home for you, or they have homes available that you can get. A lot of us don't know about that. I found out that through my friend. His family took advantage of that back in the day, and they bought homes like that. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, really? You know? And only thing I can say is it's not in the upbeat area. Some of them are, some of them not. But the thing is, you can own that home. You can stop on a house, right? Like, he was telling me how his family member one is paying like $500. They just recently got one a couple of years back, paying $500 a month. And he was telling me, he was like, man, if you get one of these houses, dude, the money you make, you can pay 3 times the money. You can pay 3 times the rent every month. And I'm like, dang, the amount of money I make, I probably could get my wife just to pay the utilities, and I just put majority of my money on the rent. We could probably pay this house off in 10 years instead of 3, because we can be putting more money towards the principal than anything. Then with Habitat, guess what? They don't have no PMI. That's what most people pay so much money in interest on PMIs, and the interest rate on that is what? It's low. Once you take off this guy insurance on the house, on average you're gonna pay what, about 200 a month, close to 200 a month. So this guy's only literally paying $300 a month for his house with a Habitat home. A lot of us, we don't have the knowledge because we don't go seek it. That's why I'm trying to encourage more people with Black History Month. Like, take advantage. Look at the past. Everything wasn't perfect with everybody back in the day. But the thing of it was they stuck together. They had issues, but they amended it because what? That's all we had. It was for the greater good. I might don't like you, but if you have eggs compared to the people down the street having eggs, I'm gonna barter with you and give you some eggs for some of my vegetables. Or you have a cow, you give me a whole cow, I'm gonna have to give you, a slew of vegetables, 1 or 2 whole chickens, and a couple of eggs with that. Doing business, it's a difference. Me and one of my friends, we sit up there, we had a fallout. But when it came to business, this guy called me and I'm like, hey, you want to do business with me? And me and you had a fallout about this? And he was like, look, man, personally, we had our issues, but this is business. This is a situation that can make you and me some money, and I need somebody I can trust on this. And that's when I came out of that element of, you know, not wanting to do business with somebody on the principle that I just didn't like the person. Now if I don't trust you, now that's a different story. I'm not gonna do business with somebody I don't trust. But just because I don't like you, if you're a fair, honest person and we had a fallout, of course contracts are gonna be involved. So if you try to do something wrong, you're going to court. And it's just, man, we gotta get better with this. We gotta get better with our finance. We gotta get better with understanding, you know, how to teach our kids. Because they're the next generation of coming up under us. And if they don't know nothing, obviously that means we don't know anything. Like I said, in my cousin instance, he never asked his dad for any information. So how is his dad supposed to give it to him? If you're not ready, I can't teach you the lesson if you're not ready. Same thing with as people who, have kids in karate, have learned about karate. There's different belts that you have to skill up to get to these belts. You have to be ready to take on the knowledge. You have to be ready and finish different levels to get certain belts. As a parent, and like I'm saying, dealing with this tied into life insurance, be there for your family. Take care of your kids. Get life insurance. We have these so many talks about single mothers and all this. I don't even get into all that because most men and women were raised by single mothers, and most fathers technically nowadays are doing better for their kids because they was raised by their single mom and their dad wasn't there. There are so many videos I can look at and show you. Yes, you have the low percentage nowadays of hanging fruit to the degree of people that don't want to take care of their kids. Focus on all the thousands that do. You literally you have a couple of guys that don't want to take care of their kids, and I get that. It goes without saying. Same thing on the other end with the mother. You know, it's a situation where it's money situation only. But focusing on where we came from the '90s, the '80s, to where a lot of those guys that take care of their kids to nowadays, so many men that have kids take care of the kids go through abuse just to be the I know personally men that have went through so much that pay child support and their kids stay with them. So we've grown a lot. We've grown a lot, you know. Even to this culture with the women and the way they move, there are women that still hold value to, you know, family structure. Some have kids, some don't have kids because they didn't go down that path. But either or making that decision from this standpoint, we've changed a whole lot from the '80s and '90s. Far as men with their thought patterns, far as women, and on both ends, we're trying to be more financially stable. That's the end goal amongst every man and woman to try to get somewhere in life. The way you get there is your decision. But everybody's trying to be financially stable. Everybody's trying to put themselves into position to win. And when it comes down to it, taking care of yourself, having life insurance, trying to get some generational wealth by getting a house or, stock investing, being an owner in a company. Those are the ways to create that. Some people just need to go and look at patents. With this month being Black History Month, go and look at how many patents. I looked up what states have the most black home ownership. California, South Carolina, Michigan, Maryland, Maryland, South Carolina, and Mississippi has a a lot of people that own homes. I was shocked at Mississippi. I was shocked that Mississippi and California, I can say the least, because a lot of people fled from southern states and went to California. I can see that. I can see that. I wasn't that shocked, but Mississippi kind of shocked me a little bit. But saying the least, man, we got to do better with the family structure. We got to start putting money aside for our kids, teaching our kids this. That's like now, my kids are 12. I'm pushing them into finance. I know they're not ready. I'm throwing money at them, showing them how to do certain things. I know they're not ready, but the point of it is, the more they see it, the more they just take on to it. Even with gardening now, I've been looking at a lot of channels. I knew back in the day my family was had their own garden. My great grandmother had one big farm, and a situation happened to where they lost that farm. You know how it goes, but they went and got another farm, smaller land, small. They built the house, you know, and the things were building over time. They need to be replaced, and they did what they had to do within the structure to keep the family intact. Having family reunions. I'm about to plan one right now for my family. We had generally in our family a family reunion, probably what 13 years, and the structure within family, like us getting together, talking, seeing the kids. Last time I seen all my cousins together, probably when my uncle passed on one side of the family. The other side, I haven't seen none of them all together. All of them got kids now. I'm coaching and telling them how to do things, for the family. You know, I'm trying to get them on points of, doing things, you know, giving them information that I've learned and found that can help them. Now, it's going to be up to them whether they, garner the information and make life better for them. But all I can do is give you the information. Everything else is up to you. And it comes a time to where we got to stop fighting against each other and start fighting with each other for the greater good. You know, there's situations that one of my kids, we don't get along as good, but one, they respect me, and that's all that I ask. I don't care how you feel towards me. Respect is big, and that's it. But when it comes down to it, we got to learn how to, cope with things. Do research. Like I, I tell people all the time, I'm on these YouTube streets talking in all these different spaces, dealing with all these different guys, dealing with all these different women and all this stuff. I still find time to go look at videos about finance. I still find time to go look at videos about motivation and therapy and, mindsets. Looking at a video the other day, um, was it School of Lessons? I think it's that channel that talks about emotional damage, talking about being in fear. What does fear control? What does fear make you do? Just so many levels of things. Then I go and look at different documentaries on you know how land is being taken from people nowadays, how drugs are affecting different communities. I remember I looked at a documentary. It's talking about people taking horse tranquilizer. They have one with this lady. It was crazy. She was in Jamaica and she put policies on all her family members, and every time she would get paid out, like it started off as just doing it to protect the family, but then she started putting hits out on her family. I'm like crazy. It gets to stuff like that. That documentary was wow, and I'm like, man, all in the name of money. And it got to the point where she almost killed her mom and her daughter. That's when it went crazy. I think she killed one of her older kids, killed uncles, auntie. But when it came down to her mom and her daughter, I guess the hitman missed the hit or something and just went on and snitched and exposed. There was one with this guy. He got sent back to Jamaica. The mom did real well in America, and the son got kicked out because he was so bad doing stuff. So she would see him every year, send him money down here. I mean, down in Jamaica where he stayed at. And when the son knew she had a big policy, he put a hit out on his mom just to get the policy. And the hitman was like, "Ma'am, you are so nice. I can't do this. Your son sent me to kill you." Because he was a taxi driver to come pick her up. Crazy. Like these type of situations, like when did we get to this point that money was so everything that we're selling our souls, you know? And it gets to that point to where you have to figure out, are things worth it? That's why I say with that life insurance, it helps your family, especially, I mean, for your family, it helps them a whole lot. Just getting off that subject, then going it back into life insurance, it is kind of funny, but saying the least, man, it helps your family, especially as men. Like I say, we protectors and providers. We gotta help within the family. Women getting that life insurance to furthermore the family structure, because this is the biggest thing. If we come down with medical conditions later on in life, that's not you can't get life insurance sometimes. And sometimes when you do get life insurance, it's gonna be so expensive and so high. Why not get it now? There's communities outside of the black culture that gets about 7 life insurance on one elder person. 7. Erica Williams talked about this to where there was a family to where this grandmother, she was up in age. The kids went and got $1 million policy on her. I'm sorry, the grandkids. The grandkids went and got $1 million policy on her. All 10 of the grandkids were paying what was it, $100. I think it was now it was like $1,200 a month. So it was like 110, I guess you would say. And all those grandkids were paying that 110 a month, $1,200, and the grandmother passed within like 4 or 5 years of them having that policy. Every one of those kids got 100,000, $100,000. Doing the math, that's what. Make sure down to it was like 30, 39, 20 for 3 years. So let's even say that it was uh 6 instead of 3. Let's say it was 6 years. Uh, they would have paid about $8,000 to get $100,000. 6 years of paying $8,000 got them $100,000. What job, what type of you know investments that you can make $100,000 off of $8,000? And the crazy thing is, it doesn't. The investment, you can't lose. You're only making nothing but profit. Life insurance. I put my money in stock, it goes up and down. I buy a house, I got to keep fixing stuff, painting, all this stuff. Life insurance, I just sit it and forget it. Even when the stock market goes, I don't care how good the company is. When Tesla was booming, everybody was so happy. Look what they did. They broke the stock of Tesla down. They got to reset it because people don't stop investing in it because it's going to hit. Just like we talk about hitting the wall, it's going to hit the wall and that's it. So life insurance, man, you gotta look into that. I mean, like I said, $100,000. Those grandkids, buy that money, buy a house or something. One of the guys do drop on my route. The guy told me he got a 1980 Trans Am. 1980 Trans Am back in the day. He bought that car brand new off the lot with the $10,000 that his grandmother gave him when she passed. Of course, he had to put a little more with it. I think like a thousand or two. But where can you go to get a car brand new off the lot for that money right now? And that was a muscle car back in the day. So that's the equivalent of your grandmother passing and leaving you about $80,000 to get you a Hellcat. I think those Hellcats run about 80 to $100,000. But equivalent of her passing in this day and time and giving you $80,000 in her life insurance to go get you a Hellcat. Now let's rewind it. This day and time, you put about $5,000 into a policy structured around your grandmother and she passed. And instead of you getting a portion of that life insurance, 80,000, you get the whole life insurance and it's growing 5% compound interest. What is it? The company that Alonzo has have me. What is it? Ameris? Not Ameris. I got so many different policies. I don't even know the name. Um, I know it starts with an A. What is it? Ameris? I think it's Ameris. I believe so. But with that company growing at 5% compounded interest, and let's say we do a universal with that policy, paying at let's say $300 a month. Let's even drop it down to $200 a month. $200 a month for a year, you're looking at $2,400. Ooh, $2,400. It's a lot of money putting aside into a policy, and it's a universal index policy. So every month is growing. So that first year, it's $100,000. Second year, it's 110. Third year, it's 120. 120,000 to that third, 120. Then the third year, 130. I mean, it grows faster than that, depending. But let's say within that third year, it's 120. That fifth year is 150. 150,000. And all you're doing is putting in 2,400 a month. I mean, 2,400 a year. And they have that grade scale that shows you on the growth because it goes actually within that second year. If it's 110 the first year, second year might be uh, 125. Third year might be let's see, add more 10, about 132, 130, 138. Because it's growing at the interest of the money that you already have in the account, plus the money that you're gradually putting in every month. That's why I say I sit there and just listen to it. And it's another person that I look at when I'm not on here, talking and going these topics and all this stuff at people, and we're talking about just natural things. I'm sitting here looking at Alonzo's channel, looking at how do I structure my life insurance better for me. Alonzo told me something I had to look at that I didn't even know I had in my policy. I knew I had my rider policy, so if something happens to one of my kids, they're covered up under my policy. I knew I had a policy to where, my death, I knew I could take money out of my policy. What I didn't know was to where if I get injured and I can't perform to three of my daily tasks, like taking a bath by myself. I need someone to take a bath. I can't put on my clothes because I'm in a situation to where it's not looking good for me. I can take up to 75% of my policy, depending on the condition. And I even forgot the name of the policy. I always slip my mind about it, but it's structured into my universal index to where if anything happens to me, let's say I get some illness, I can go into my policy because I have a limited time of living. I go into my policy, pull some of that money out, enjoy, go take a vacation, just live my last couple of months or years or whatever on this earth. Because there's no way that this illness is not gonna, take me. And I'm like, wow, that's good happening to a policy. But saying the least, man, I'm about to get off of here. Generational wealth, look at it, see what's the structure for you and your family, and go forth and see what's the best opportunity for you